Hi guys, Belfast Boxing and Blues. How are you? This is a late night broadcast. Just wanted to talk a little bit about music, and in particular blues music. This being a blues music channel, yeah. So it's all blues, and particularly the blues that we want to talk about, or the aspect of the blues rather, is the lifestyle that is promoted, right? Now they say the blues give birth to everything, all rock and roll, rock give birth to metal, and then prog and all come into it, and then Pink Floyd inspired dance music, so that's where that come out of, and it's like, who cares? Who cares, mate, right? But that's what they say. That's what they say. But with blues, they sing about whiskey, they sing about women, actually forget just women. They sing about copulation, right? To make it a little bit less saucy or more saucy if you're into that big words and stuff. But do you know what it is? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You know what I mean? We are sold this from a young age. Us young rockers, us guys that go into music blindly, following our dreams, believing that we're going to make it onto the fucking main stage at some point. Which may or may not happen. Usually not. Sorry. Yeah, for most of it, that does not happen. You may be talented, you may be good looking, you may have a rich father. Sorry, the dream is dead. All right, you're 30. But look, I mean, obviously, when one comes of a certain age, you kind of reconcile yourself to the what is good and what is not so good. In life and in music, and you must kind of come to terms with it, with the reality that those dreams and things don't really happen, not quite in the way that we would like them to anyway. And the sooner I think that we do reconcile ourselves and we make peace with these realities, the sooner then that we can start to seed, we sort of little conceive, set forth the work for the birth of some new dreams, These are all little tame dreams like, oh, I bought a new saucepan, or I met a nice person there the other week. Lovely, you know what I mean? Dreams that are actually fulfillable, you know what I mean? And but really what I wanted to get to was that I think if you look at other sort of pursuits that young people get into, right? Let's say boxing, since we're on the boxing and blues channel, right? Which is a great mix. I'm sure you'll agree, right? So, there's amateur boxing. There are amateur boxing clubs. There are the infrastructure there is great. Football, sports, and stuff like that. There's guidance for kids and stuff the whole way through. In music, it isn't quite like that, because in some ways we are like society's rejects. We're little Kurt Cobains living under the bridge, and we come from broken homes. We take to drugs and alcohol to try and make peace with our problems, or at least blank them out forever as long as we can. Or maybe we just like to party. It could be a bit of both. But what can the sort of older people, the would-be mentors, the gatekeepers, what can they really do from a distance, watching another man's kid, just sort of hurl themselves into oblivion, which happens quite often, you meet these people all the time. Luckily most of them recover by a certain age, you know what I mean, but not all the time they don't, you know what I mean? And it isn't really their place to come in and say, well, let me save you from all of this, because you can't really save somebody. They've got to save themselves as well, haven't they? So, I don't know. I mean, it's a bit of a big issue to try and fucking do a whole video about and come to a conclusion and a solution. It's not really on the cards, is it? It's just something worth thinking about sometimes, drugs, sex, and rock and roll. You mean loads of drugs, I want to have loads of sex. Yeah, and yeah, if I could maybe get playing for half an hour on Friday, that would be nice too. So yeah, it's. I mean, there are like festivals, and then there are studios, there are producers, there are people like this that you know that will put an arm around your shoulder, and people that will guide you. In my experience, I was, like a promising young talent type of person as a musician, growing up. But any sort of guidance, there wasn't much, you know what I mean? It was guys down the pub, whoever you met, they just want to be telling you the stories of their own ruined youth, And they're, guys from afar who would say, oh, he's good, stuff like that. But it's not like they were, there's very little help. There's very little help. I think there should be more. There should be more safeguarding. But if there was too much safeguarding, then it simply wouldn't be rock and roll, would it? Because rock and roll is dangerous. It's not sanitized. It's not like that. Anyway, guys, it's not a bit serious, isn't it? It's not very jolly. It's a bit venomous, and I was actually quite. It really is unsafe. Like this rock and roll crack, if you get into it, and. But then again, boxing is a sport that legitimizes and legalizes violence, physical violence, punching another man in the face. That becomes something as well as something worth thinking about. That's something we'll leave that for another video, because otherwise we'll be here all night, and it's too much to take in. It's too much to think about. Kids come from broken homes. When kids don't have two strong parents, or even one strong parent behind them, or anybody else in their family that is really watching them and caring what they do. And even if they do very carefully watch them, they're probably sneaking off to their friend's house to fucking do loads of drugs and everything else as well, So I don't know, maybe it's just something better left alone, you know what I mean? But when you've been through the mill a wee bit, you don't you sort of, you would like to hope that you could do something for somebody else. In some regard, you know what I mean? In some regard. And then you pick up a tin of beer and you go, fuck, ever good days, Anyway, guys, we'll get a wee boxing video on the go soon. Sorry for, I don't know whether there'll be a title for this, or there's a there's any kind of subject or something, you know what I mean? I'm sure we can coordinate it off one way or another, and there'll be some use for it. Yeah. But as for now, I'm gonna sign off. I am gonna have a little look at what's going on with the boxing and get on with a good video with that, and something with a bit of technical stuff as well. Obviously, me not being a licensed coach, or even somebody that has boxed amateur, as a professional, or even as a white collar boxer, or even set foot in the gym. No, I'm just a fucking wee boxing nerd. But I can still have a scrap, like, so. We'll have a look at things later as well, and we'll see if we can put something together. Maybe to do with some of the fights that are on the undercard of the Bivol Beterbiev fight. So we'll see what good stuff we can get out of that, guys. It's one thing having a rant and rampaging about whatever you don't like and you don't know how to fix it, but if there's something you can do something constructive with, that's probably we'll put our energy in that direction. Anyway, good night and be good.